Hi everyone, Tim Ash from TTS Real Estate. Welcome to the TTS Weekly Recap. This week we're going to cover something that's been in the news as of late, and I wanted to give you my honest opinion on why I think it's a bad idea. What's being proposed is potentially a 2-year rent freeze. They're really pushing it up in Queensland. They're starting to want to push it down here as well. There is a call to make it a nationwide rent freeze. I believe that this law will hurt the very people that it's intended to help, which is tenants. And I'm going to run through a couple of facts and statistics in order to, really back up this claim. And I think that a massive overhaul of this measure will really hurt not only owners of rental properties, but also the tenants that are looking for rental properties as well. So essentially, how would the bill work and what does it mean? So a rent freeze would essentially be an amendment to the Residential Tenancies Act that states that owners cannot increase the rent for more than what the property was rented out for on the 1st of August or before that. And that is fixed for 2 years. Even if you had to find another tenant, you technically can't then ask for market rate. You would then be stuck at what you rented the property out for on the 1st of August 2022. The other item that they're proposing is once the 2 years are up, that you can only increase the rent by a maximum 2% every 24 months, and they haven't actually put an end date to that. The other call that they're wanting to remove is an end to Section 91ZZD, which means you won't be able to send a tenant the notice to vacate at the end of the first fixed term tenancy to try and realise your market value, or for whatever reason you would like to do that. So I'll run through some statistics that I think are critically important as to why I think that this will really hurt the people it's intended to help. So according to the Prop Track Economist, rental listings are down by 18% the same time last year, and are actually down by 30% pre-COVID. So before 2020, there is 30% less stock available from a rental point of view than what there was pre-COVID. In Melbourne, as we were the last ones out of lockdown, our annual rents have only risen by about 2.5% over the past 12 months. Even though there has only been a 2.5% increase, investors currently at the moment are slowly starting to come back to the market. So according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the investor share of new housing lending is up a little over a third nationwide after bottoming out at the end of the quarter of 2020 to under a quarter. So in the last quarter of 2020, investor new home lending was under a quarter. Now investors are starting to come back into the market. It's the new investor home lending is up to a little over a third. This trend will start to bring some relief to the rental market, particularly in some rural areas where rents are starting to level out. However, it will be a slow process. The number of investors buying relative to the stock of rentals is still quite small. So the market's going to be tight for quite a while until, there's more confidence in investment lending and in the housing market, and we start to see it level out as investors start to come back in. As I mentioned in a previous video, inflation is sitting at around 6.1%. So it doesn't actually make any sense how you can only freeze one side of the equation whilst interest rates, cost of living, mortgages, and everything else is going up in value. It actually disincentivizes the investor and will take the confidence straight out of the market. People are going to start looking at other areas to put their money because the government is essentially telling them what they can and can't do with it. They will start to look at other avenues for investment. Particularly today, the interest rates are expected to go up another 50 basis points. So it really doesn't make any sense to freeze costs now when the annual rents have only gone up by, on average, 2.4%. Inflation is sitting at 6.1%. And then after 24 months, you're saying that rents can only increase 2% every 24 months thereafter. It really, it's something that, you know, as soon as it's put into practice, I believe will create a bit of chaos around the rental market. And so we have seen just how many rentals have left the market during COVID. Could you imagine how short the supply would be if the rent freeze was to be introduced for another 2 years? We're already down 30% pre-COVID. If they introduce this legislation, it will just create a much, much higher shortage of rentals and essentially take the confidence out of the market. And that's why it will hurt the very people it's intended to help, as there will be a lot less choice and much higher competition. And I believe you'll find tenants offering a lot more than what the advertised rent is, just to be able to secure a property. And this will essentially socialise the housing market. Investors will put their money elsewhere, just like they did during COVID, which will create an even bigger shortage. Real estate agents, we will do well in the short term because we'll pick up the sale. However, you know, and first and home buyers will have a lot more choice. But those people that are saving for a deposit, guess what? They're not going to be able to save as well as what they once did due to the cost of rents actually increasing. That's why it's a bad idea. It's just a bad idea to freeze rents and expect that there's not going to be a massive sell-off, particularly when they've got evidence that there was a sell-off when rents were frozen and evictions were banned and people had a much higher tolerance because of what was going on. If you're just going to come in and say, no, this is the way it's going to be because we say so, you're going to find that there'll be a lot of pushback to that, and owners will just say, too hard, get rid of it, we'll put our money elsewhere. And that's just my opinion. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, guys.